The chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light that orbited the neutral world below. Inside, representatives from 847 different species sat in their designated areas. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had scales, others had fur, and the evacuation began 3 days after Ambassador Day Kim's announcement. From 427 worlds across Council space, humans began packing their belongings and boarding ships. Diplomats closed embassies. Traders liquidated their businesses. Researchers abandoned their laboratories. Students left their universities. The message was clear and consistent. Humanity was going home. Captain Wu Han commanded the evacuation fleet from the bridge of the carrier Inshin. His ship was one of 50 large vessels coordinating the withdrawal. Behind him, dozens of screens showed the status of human populations across the galaxy. Green markers indicated successful evacuations. Yellow markers showed evacuations in progress. There were no red markers yet, but Wu knew that would change soon. "Captain, we have a problem at the Nexus station," his communications officer reported. "Local authorities are refusing to let our people leave. They claim humans owe docking fees and trade taxes." Wu Han smiled without humor. It had started. Once the Council species realized that humans were actually leaving, they would try to take whatever they could. Money, equipment, knowledge, anything of value. "Tell them we will pay all legitimate fees," Wu said. "But our people leave today with all their possessions. If they refuse, remind them that the frigate Soul is currently in orbit and that we are no longer bound by Council non-aggression treaties." The communications officer relayed the message. 2 minutes later, the response came back. The docking fees had been waived. The humans could leave. This scene repeated itself across Council space. Some species tried to hold humans hostage for money. Others tried to seize human property and technology. Each time, human military vessels appeared and made it clear that any interference would be met with force. The Council species were learning a new reality. Humans without Council restrictions were far more dangerous than humans bound by Council law. On the colony world of New Mizan, Tei Shin oversaw the evacuation of 15,000 colonists. He was the commander of the Colonial Defense Forces, responsible for protecting human settlements on frontier worlds. New Mizan was beautiful, with blue oceans and green forests that reminded people of Earth. Humans had lived here for 12 years, building farms and cities and lives. Now they were taking it all apart. "Load everything," Tay ordered his soldiers. Food stores, medical supplies, manufacturing equipment, computer cores. If we built it, we take it. If we brought it, we take it. Leave nothing useful behind. His soldiers moved through the colony with practiced efficiency. They had been preparing for this for months, ever since they received the coded orders from Earth. While the diplomats negotiated in the council chamber, the military had been planning the evacuation. They had known the council would refuse to help humanity. They had known humanity would leave. And they had planned accordingly. In the capital city's main square, colonists lined up to board transport ships. Children carried toys. Parents carried photographs and personal belongings. Everyone moved quickly and quietly. There was sadness in their eyes, but also determination. They were leaving their homes, but they were going to a better future. "Sir, Vrelian ships just entered the system," a soldier reported to Tay. 3 cruisers and a dozen smaller vessels. They are broadcasting a claim to this world under salvage protocols. Tay Shin checked his datapad. The last transport was loading now. 90% of the population was already off-world. The remaining 10% would be gone in 30 minutes. "Tell the Vrelians they can have New Mizan in 45 minutes, Tay said. "Until then, this is sovereign human territory, and any approach will be considered an act of war." The Vrelians maintained their distance. They had fought humans before and knew that even a small colonial defense force could inflict heavy casualties. They could wait 45 minutes to claim an entire world. Exactly 45 minutes later, the last human transport lifted off from New Bizan. Tei-Shin watched from the bridge as his ship left orbit. Below, the colony they had built with 12 years of hard work sat, empty and silent. The Vrelian cruisers moved toward the planet eagerly. They sent landing parties to the cities, expecting to find abandoned technology, food stores, and functioning infrastructure. Instead, they found empty buildings. The humans had taken everything. Every computer, every vehicle, every tool, every seed, every medical device. They had even drained the fuel from the power plants and dismantled the solar panels. The Vrelian commander stood in the empty central square of the capital and realized the truth. Humans had not fled in panic. They had executed a planned, methodical evacuation. They had stripped the colony of everything valuable and left only worthless buildings behind. Across 3 other human colonies, the same scene played out. The Vrelians claimed 4 worlds and found 4 empty shells. No resources, no technology, no value at all. In a hidden station in deep space, Ray Song monitored reports from her intelligence network. She was the head of human intelligence, responsible for gathering information across the galaxy. Her network included human agents, sympathetic aliens, and sophisticated monitoring systems. For years, she had been watching, listening, and learning. "They still don't understand," she said to her second-in-command. "They think we acted emotionally. They think we left because we were insulted." "Let them think that," her deputy replied. "As long as they underestimate us, we have an advantage." Ray pulled up a star map showing human space. The border systems glowed red. Along humanity's frontier with Council space, automated defense platforms were activating. Admiral Jin Park's fleets were moving into position. And in hidden systems that the Council had never discovered, construction projects were entering their final phases. "How long until the Council realizes we were preparing for this?" her deputy asked. "They already know," Ray said. "Some of their intelligence services have reported it. But the Council doesn't want to believe it. They have convinced themselves that humans are primitives, playing with dangerous technology. They cannot accept that we might be smarter than they gave us credit for. And when they do accept it..." Ray Song smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Then it will be too late." Across the galaxy, human ships converged on human space. Millions of people returned home, bringing with them everything they had learned during 30 years in Council space. They brought technical knowledge, cultural understanding, and something more important, they brought anger. Controlled, focused anger at a galaxy that had refused to protect them. That anger would be forged into something powerful. The Council watched the evacuation with a mixture of amusement and contempt. In the Council chamber, representatives made jokes about human stubbornness and human foolishness. The architect issued a statement saying that humanity would be welcomed back when they learned humility and accepted their proper place in galactic civilization. But a few species watched with concern. The oldest races, the ones who had seen civilizations rise and fall, recognized something in humanity's actions. They saw the careful planning, the discipline, the complete commitment to the decision. These were not the actions of an emotional, immature species. These were the actions of a species that had made a calculated choice and was executing a long-term strategy. One elder representative, a being whose species had existed for 50,000 years, spoke to a colleague. "They are not running away. They are consolidating. They are preparing." "Preparing for what?" the colleague asked. "For what comes next," the elder replied. "And I fear we have made a terrible mistake." But these warnings were ignored. The Council had spoken. Humanity would learn its lesson through hardship and suffering. When they came back begging for readmission, the terms would be harsh. They would accept tributary status. They would acknowledge council superiority. They would learn their place. The galaxy waited for humanity to fail. They would be waiting for a long time. 6 months passed, and human space remained silent. The border systems were patrolled by automated defense platforms that fired on anything that came too close. No human ships left their territory. No communications came from Earth or any human world. To the rest of the galaxy, it was as if humanity had simply vanished. In the council chamber, representatives discussed the situation with growing confusion. The general expectation had been that humans would come back within weeks, perhaps months at most. Instead, there was only silence and sealed borders. They cannot survive isolated like this, a council economist argued. Human technology depends on rare materials they can only obtain through trade. Their colonies need food imports. Their population is too large for their available worlds. They should be experiencing famine and resource shortages by now. But the reports from the border told a different story. The automated defense platforms were sophisticated, well-maintained, and showed no signs of degrading. Human border patrols, while invisible, were clearly active because any ship that approached too closely was warned away with precise targeting data. Whatever was happening inside human space, it was not collapse. Some species began to feel the absence more than others. The smaller civilizations, the ones that had traded regularly with humans, found themselves struggling. Human technology had been reliable and affordable. Human traders had been fair and honest. Human security forces had protected shipping lanes that the council ignored. Without humans, these minor species faced increased piracy, higher costs, and economic decline. The Vrelian Empire continued to expand, targeting the weak species that humanity had once traded with. Without human interference, they were free to conquer and subjugate as they pleased. The council did nothing, as always. The strong preyed on the weak, and that was the natural order of things. Inside human space, a different story was unfolding. On Earth, in a facility built deep under the Himalayan mountains, engineer Mia Kwan stood before the Council of Humanity. This was not the Galactic Council, but humanity's own governing body, composed of representatives from every human world. The final tests are complete, Mia announced. The technology works, not just in theory, not just in simulations, but in practice. We can do what we claimed we could do. The Council of Humanity had gathered in person for this announcement, something they rarely did. President J. Moon of Earth looked at the engineer with careful hope. Explain it in simple terms. What exactly have we achieved? Mia activated a holographic display. It showed a device that looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Strange geometric shapes, materials that should not exist according to known physics, and energy signatures that defied conventional understanding. 30 years ago, when we first developed FTL travel and left our solar system, we discovered something. An artifact buried in the Kuiper Belt, beyond Pluto. It was older than our sun, older than our solar system. The council races missed it because they never thoroughly explored our system. They assumed we were a primitive backwater, not worth detailed investigation. She changed the holographic display to show the artifact itself. It was a perfect sphere, 3 meters in diameter, made of a black material that absorbed all light and radiation. We have spent 30 years studying this artifact, Mia continued. We could not open it, could not scan its interior, could not understand its purpose. Until 5 years ago, when we discovered the activation sequence hidden in mathematical patterns across its surface. When we activated it, it transmitted a massive data packet directly into our computers. Blueprints, instructions, technology. The Council of Humanity sat in stunned silence. Only the highest-ranking officials had known about the artifact. It had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, more classified than nuclear weapons had been in the old days. Who built it? President J asked. We don't know, Mia admitted. The data contained no information about its creators. But we know what they left us. FTL technology that does not require jump points. Weapons that manipulate space-time itself. Energy shields that phase out of normal space when struck. Materials engineering beyond anything the Council has achieved. And more. Much more. She changed the display again, showing a shipyard orbiting a moon in a hidden system. Hundreds of vessels were under construction, each one incorporating the new technology. Admiral Jin Park has been overseeing construction for the past 4 years. We now have a fleet of 3,000 vessels using this technology. They can appear anywhere in normal space without warning. They can move faster than anything the Council can track. And their weapons can destroy any known shield or armor. President J stood and walked closer to the holographic display. Why did we wait? Why did we join the Council at all if we had this? Mia smiled sadly. Because we needed time. The artifact gave us blueprints, but we had to learn how to build the components, how to manufacture the materials, how to train crews to use the systems. We needed the Council period to buy time, to learn about galactic civilization, to understand who would be friend and who would be enemy. And we needed them to underestimate us. Strategist Hyun Bae, who had been silent until now, spoke up. The Council thinks we are weak. They think we left out of pride and emotion. This false belief is our greatest weapon. When we reveal the truth, it will be at a time and place of our choosing, and they will be completely unprepared. Admiral Jin Park appeared on a communication screen. He was on one of the new warships, inspecting the final systems. We are ready. The fleet is fully operational. All crews have completed training. The only question is when and how we announce our presence to the galaxy. The Council of Humanity debated for hours. Some wanted to immediately demonstrate their power, to force the Galactic Council to respect them. Others wanted to maintain secrecy longer, to build even more strength. In the end, they reached a consensus. We wait for the right moment, President J decided. We do not seek war, but we will not tolerate attacks on the innocent. When someone needs help, and the Council refuses to give it, we will act. That will be our announcement to the galaxy. The meeting ended, and the leaders returned to their duties. But everyone knew that the galaxy was about to change forever. On one of the new warships, Commander Sue Park ran her hand along the control panel. The ship was called the Dokdo, named after islands that Koreans had fought to keep long ago. It was beautiful in a strange way, all smooth curves and impossible angles, built with technology from beings who might have died out before humans evolved. Her crew was young, eager, and well-trained. They had practiced for months with the new systems. They knew what the ship could do, and they were ready to show the galaxy what humanity had become. How does it feel? Her second officer asked. Commanding the most powerful warship ever built by humans? Sue looked out at the stars through the forward view screen. Somewhere out there, people were suffering because the Council would not help them. Somewhere out there, the Vrelian Empire was destroying civilizations for profit. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued its cruel rotation, where the strong dominated and the weak suffered. It feels like responsibility, she said quietly. We have been given incredible power. Now we must prove we deserve it, not by conquering or dominating, but by protecting and defending. We will show the galaxy that strength can be used for more than oppression. 3 weeks later, long-range sensors detected something that would change everything. The Vrelian Empire was moving against the Talon Cluster, a collection of small, peaceful species who had no military capability. The Council had already refused their requests for help. They were defenseless, and everyone knew what would happen to them. Admiral Jin Park received the intelligence report and made his decision immediately. He contacted Commander Sue Park and gave her the orders she had been waiting for. Take your fleet to the Talon cluster. Protect those people. Show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Sue smiled. Yes, sir. It will be our pleasure. The Dokdo and 40 other warships prepared for departure. They would use the new FTL system to appear directly in the Talon cluster, bypassing all jump points and security checkpoints. The Vrelian Empire would never see them coming. A silent period was about to end. Humanity was ready to return to the galaxy, but not as supplicants begging for acceptance. They would return as protectors, as defenders, as a force that would not be ignored or dismissed. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson. And like all important lessons, it would be taught through demonstration, not words. The Vrelian battle fleet arrived at the Talon cluster with overwhelming force. 12 heavy cruisers, 30 destroyers, and over 100 smaller support vessels. Against them, the Talon had nothing. Their civilization had never developed weapons beyond simple projectiles. They had joined the Galactic Council hoping for protection, but like humanity before them, they had learned that council promises meant nothing. Admiral Kreth of the Vrelian Empire stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the peaceful worlds below. 3 inhabited planets, home to nearly 1 billion Talon. They were small, insect-like beings with complex social structures and rich cultures. They were also completely helpless. Broadcast the surrender demand, Kreth ordered. They have 2 hours to accept tributary status or face bombardment. The demand was sent. On the Talon homeworld, their leaders gathered in desperation. They had already appealed to the Galactic Council. The Council had responded with sympathy, but no action. The Talon were too minor, too weak, too unimportant. Their fate was their own problem. 1 hour passed. The Talon leaders debated surrender terms. Another 30 minutes passed. They prepared their acceptance message, knowing that tributary status meant generations of servitude and exploitation. It was better than extinction, but barely. Then something impossible happened. On the Vrelian flagship, every sensor suddenly screamed warnings. Ships were appearing from nowhere, materializing directly in normal space without using any jump point. 41 vessels, each one roughly the same size as a Vrelian cruiser, but with designs that looked wrong, geometries that hurt to look at too long, hulls made of materials that sensor beams simply passed through. What are those? Kreth demanded. Where did they come from? Unknown design, his sensor officer reported, confusion in his voice. They did not use any known FTL system. They just appeared. Energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. I cannot get accurate readings. Then the identification codes came through. The ships were broadcasting their registry in standard galactic format. Every single one was human.kreth, felt something close to fear. Humans, the weak species that had fled the Council 6 months ago. The primitives with chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. But these ships looked nothing like the human vessels he had encountered before. A communication came through. A woman's face appeared on his screen. She was young, with dark hair and calm eyes. She wore a black uniform with the blue Earth symbol on it. I am Commander Sue Park of the Human Defense Fleet, she said in perfect Vrelian language. You are ordered to leave this system immediately. The Talon people are under our protection. Kreth laughed. He could not help it. 40 human ships against his entire fleet? And they dared to give him orders? Little human, he replied, you are outnumbered 3 to 1. Your species abandoned the Council's protection. You have no authority here. Leave now, or we will add your ships to the wreckage we leave behind. Sue Park's expression did not change. You have made your choice. So be it. The communication cut off. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Kreth was about to order his fleet to open fire when the universe went insane. The human ships moved. They did not accelerate slowly like normal vessels. They simply went from stationary to impossible speeds instantaneously, breaking every known law of physics. They were here, then they were there, as if they had stepped through space itself. The Vrelian fleet opened fire with plasma cannons and missile barrages. Enough firepower to destroy a dozen fleets. The weapons struck the human shields and simply vanished, as if hitting a hole in space rather than a physical barrier. Then the human ships returned fire. Their weapons looked like tears in reality itself, beams of distorted space that reached out and touched Vrelian vessels. When those beams made contact, the target ships did not explode dramatically. They simply came apart, their molecular bonds severed, their structure unable to maintain integrity against forces that rewrote the laws that held matter together. Commander Sue Park watched from the Dokdo's bridge as her fleet executed the battle plan perfectly. Her crew worked with calm efficiency, each person knowing their role exactly. Target priority vessels first, she ordered. Cruisers and command ships. Leave the smaller vessels for last. Minimal casualties if possible. Her weapons officer nodded and targeted another Vrelian cruiser. The space distortion beam lanced out, and the enemy ship broke apart silently. In space, there was no sound to carry the screams. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 47 minutes. The Vrelian fleet was completely destroyed. Not a single human ship took damage. The technological gap was not just significant, it was absolute. The Vrelians might as well have been throwing rocks at tanks, not in the final moments. Admiral Kreth tried to flee, but his ship's engines could not outrun human vessels that moved through space like it was not even there. The space distortion beam found his flagship and tore it apart. He died without understanding what had killed him. When it was over, Commander Sue Park broadcast a message to the Talon homeworld. You are safe. The Vrelian threat has been eliminated. Humanity offers you friendship and protection, if you wish to accept it. We ask nothing in return, except that you live in peace. On the surface, the Talon leaders could barely believe what had happened. They had been certain they would die today, or worse, become slaves. Instead, these humans had appeared from nowhere and saved them with technology that seemed like magic. The news spread across the galaxy with shocking speed. The Galactic Council received reports of the battle from multiple sources. At first, they refused to believe it. Humans could not have destroyed an entire Vrelian fleet. Humans had primitive technology. This had to be exaggeration or propaganda. Then the sensor logs arrived. Ships from neutral species had been watching from a safe distance, and their recordings confirmed everything. Human ships appearing from nowhere, moving at impossible speeds, destroying Vrelian vessels with weapons that defied known physics. Complete victory without taking a single hit. In the council chamber, the architect called an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered, all talking at once, all demanding explanations. How is this possible? Someone shouted. 6 months ago, humans had chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons. Now they have technology beyond our understanding? Ambassador Dae Kim appeared on the communication screen. Broadcast from Earth. He looked exactly as he had 6 months ago, calm and composed. But now there was something else in his eyes. Confidence. You asked how this is possible, Dae said. The answer is simple. You underestimated us. You assumed that because we were young, we were primitive. You assumed that because we asked for help, we were weak. You were wrong on both counts. Where did you get this technology? The architect demanded. It is beyond anything in the known galaxy. No species develops this rapidly. Explain yourself. I will explain nothing, Dae replied. Humanity owes the Council no explanations. We left your organization. We are not bound by your laws or your demands. What we do in our own space, with our own technology, is our own business. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some species demanded that humanity be forced to share their technology. Others called for military action to prevent humans from becoming a threat. The older species, the wiser ones, sat quietly and considered what this meant. On Earth, Ambassador Dae Kim watched the chaos in the council chamber with satisfaction. Behind him, Admiral Jin Park and the Council of Humanity observed as well. They are afraid, Jin Park noted. Good. Fear will make them cautious. Caution will prevent stupid decisions. Some of them will still make stupid decisions, President Jay said. Fear makes some beings dangerous. Then we will deal with them when necessary, they replied. But we will do so from a position of strength, not weakness. Never again will humanity beg for protection. Never again will we be dismissed as children. The galaxy has seen what we can do. Now they must decide how they will respond. Hana Lee, the military liaison who had stood beside Day in the council chamber 6 months ago, spoke up. The Talon have formally requested to join an alliance with humanity. 7 other minor species have sent similar requests. They want our protection. Then we will give it, President Jay decided. But we do it properly. We create an organization built on mutual respect, shared defense, and genuine equality. We show the galaxy that there is an alternative to the Council's way of doing things. Plans were made. The Free Alliance would be announced within days. Any species that wanted to join would be welcome, as long as they committed to peace, cooperation, and mutual defense. Humanity would share some of their technology, carefully selected pieces that would help these species develop and prosper without creating new weapons of mass destruction. The galaxy was changing. The old order, where the Council dominated and ancient empires preyed on the weak, was facing its first real challenge in thousands of years. Humanity had proven they could fight and win. Now they would prove they could build something better out in the Talon cluster. Commander Sue Park and her fleet remained on patrol. The Talon people celebrated in their cities, dancing and singing songs of gratitude. Children drew pictures of the strange human ships that had saved them. Historians began recording the day. Their civilization was saved from extinction. Sue stood on her bridge and looked at the peaceful worlds below. This was what human strength should be used for. Not conquest, not domination, but protection and preservation. They had the power to destroy, but they chose to defend instead. Set course for home, she ordered. Our job here is done. The human fleet departed, leaving behind automated defense platforms that would protect the Talon from any future threats. As they traveled back to human space, they received message after message from species across the galaxy. Some messages were threats. Some were pleas for help. Some were offers of friendship. The galaxy had been shaken. Nothing would ever be the same again. 3 months after the Battle of Talon Cluster, the galaxy had reorganized itself into 2 camps. On one side stood the Galactic Council, ancient and powerful, representing 847 species. On the other side stood the Free Alliance, young and growing. With 17 member species and counting, the Free Alliance headquarters was built on a neutral world called Hope Station, positioned exactly between human space and Council territory. Ambassador Dae Kim stood at the dedication ceremony, watching as representatives from 17 different species gathered to sign the founding charter. The Talon were there, of course, along with other small species that the Council had ignored. The Minari, peaceful traders who had suffered from constant piracy. The Kef, artists and philosophers who had no military capability. The Yun, underwater dwellers whose worlds were being poisoned by industrial dumping. Species that had been invisible to the Council, were now being given voices, protection, and hope. Today, we start something new, Kim announced to the assembled representatives. Not an empire, not a hierarchy, but a true alliance of equals. Every species has one vote, regardless of age or size or military power. Decisions are made together, and benefits are shared by all. The charter was signed. The Free Alliance became official, and the galaxy watched to see if humanity's promises were real or just propaganda. Humanity proved their commitment immediately. Chief Scientist Una Choi arrived at Hope Station with a team of engineers and researchers. She brought gifts, medical technology that could cure diseases the Council had never bothered to research, agricultural systems that could triple food production, manufacturing techniques that were cheap and efficient. We share this freely, Una explained to the Alliance members. No payment required, no strings attached. Your success is our success. Your prosperity is our prosperity. This is what alliance means. The Talon representative, a small insect-like being named Tillich, approached Una with obvious emotion. Why do you do this? You could demand tribute from us. You saved our entire civilization. We owe you everything. Una smiled gently. You owe us nothing. We help because it is right, not because we expect payment. The Council's way, where the strong exploit the weak, is not the only way. We prove this by our actions, not our words. The technology transfers began. Human engineers taught Minari traders how to build better ships. Human doctors showed Keth physicians new surgical techniques. Human ecologists helped the Yun clean their polluted oceans. Within months, every Alliance member was experiencing unprecedented growth and development that the Council watched this with growing concern. Species were leaving the Council to join the Free Alliance. Not many yet, only a few dozen out of hundreds, but the trend was clear. The Alliance offered something the Council did not: genuine support and equality. In the Council chamber, the architect convened another emergency session. We must respond to this threat. The Free Alliance is undermining Council authority. Species are beginning to question our leadership. What do you propose? An elder representative asked. We cannot fight humanity militarily. The Battle of Talon proved that. And we cannot match their technology sharing because it would bankrupt the Council. Then we use economics, a Council strategist suggested. We impose trade sanctions on any species that joins the Free Alliance. We isolate them, cut them off from Council markets, and force them to choose between Alliance membership and economic survival. The vote was called. The sanctions were approved by a large majority. Any species that joined the Free Alliance would be banned from trading with Council members. It was a powerful threat, as the Council controlled 90% of galactic trade. When news of the sanctions reached Hope Station, Ambassador Dae Kim called a meeting of the Alliance representatives. They were worried. Many of them depended on trade with Council species for vital resources. Will you withdraw your protection because of these sanctions? Tillich asked Dae. We understand if you must. We cannot ask you to sacrifice your own economy for us. Dae Kim shook his head. The Council thinks economics is a weapon they can use against us. They are wrong. Humanity prepared for this possibility. We have resources sufficient to support every Alliance member through the transition period. And we have something else. He activated a holographic display showing dozens of unexplored star systems. The galaxy is huge. Council space is only a small portion of it. There are thousands of systems with resources that no one has claimed because they are too far from Council territory. Humanity has been exploring these regions. We will share these resources with the Alliance. The sanctions began, and for a few months, Alliance members did struggle. But humanity kept its promise. Human freighters arrived carrying food, medicine, and raw materials. Human survey teams found new resource-rich worlds. Human engineers helped build manufacturing capability so Alliance species could produce what they needed instead of importing it. Within 6 months, the sanctions were having the opposite of their intended effect. Alliance members were becoming more self-sufficient, not weaker. And the Council members who had relied on trading with these species were losing profits. Captain Wu Han commanded the trade fleet that supplied Alliance members. His ships traveled constantly, moving resources and goods between Alliance worlds. He had gone from evacuation commander to the lifeline of a growing civilization. "It is working," his logistics officer reported. "Alliance GDP is up 17% this quarter. Food security is at 100% across all member worlds. Industrial capacity is growing monthly." Wu smiled. The Council thought they could starve us out. Instead, they forced us to become independent. Every time they try to hurt us, they make us stronger. More species joined the Alliance. Some came because they needed protection. Others came because they wanted the technology and support humanity offered. Still others came because they were tired of Council arrogance and wanted to be part of something better. The architect realized too late that the sanctions strategy had failed. Worse, it had made the Council look petty and vindictive, while making the Alliance look generous and strong. Public opinion was shifting, even among species that remained in the Council. "We must negotiate," the architect finally admitted. "We must speak with humanity directly and find a way to coexist." The message was sent to Earth. Ambassador Dae Kim received it and discussed it with the Council of Humanity. After careful consideration, he agreed to meet with the architect, but not in Council space. The meeting would be held in neutral territory, on Hope Station, with both sides having equal security presence. Captain Wu Han provided the human security forces. His ships surrounded Hope Station, a visible reminder that humanity could defend itself and its allies. The architect arrived with a Council escort, warships that looked impressive, but everyone now knew were inferior to human vessels. The meeting took place in a simple conference room. On one side sat the architect and 3 Council representatives. On the other side sat Ambassador Dae Kim, Admiral Jin Park, and President Jae Moon of Earth. "We propose a compromise," the architect began. "The Free Alliance can continue to exist, but as a subsidiary organization of the Council. You would have autonomy in internal matters, but would defer to Council authority on major galactic issues." Dae Kim did not even pretend to consider it. "No, the Free Alliance is independent and will remain independent. We are not seeking your permission or approval." "Then what do you want?" the architect asked, frustration evident in its crystalline voice. "We want nothing from you," Dae replied. "We do not need your approval, your protection, or your authority. But we are willing to trade with Council members as equals, not as subordinates. We are willing to cooperate on issues of mutual concern. We are willing to coexist peacefully. Those are our terms." The architect's body flashed with colors indicating stress. This was not how negotiations were supposed to go. The Council was accustomed to dictating terms, not receiving them. "You are dividing the galaxy," the architect said. "There will be conflict. There will be war." Admiral Jin Park spoke for the first time. "Only if you start it. The Free Alliance seeks no territory in Council space. We threaten no Council member. We simply offer an alternative to species that want something different. If that causes conflict, it is because the Council cannot tolerate not being in complete control." The meeting ended without agreement. The architect returned to Council space angry and frustrated. The Council members debated their options and found them all unpleasant. They could not fight humanity militarily. They could not defeat them economically. They could not ignore them politically. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council faced a rival they could not eliminate or absorb. The Free Alliance was real, it was growing, and it was changing the fundamental power structure of the galaxy. On Earth, in his office overlooking the Pacific Ocean, Ambassador Dae Kim received a classified report from strategist Hyun Bae. The report contained information from deep space, exploration teams, information about discoveries in the region beyond the galactic rim. The report suggested that the artifact humanity had found in the Kuiper Belt was not unique. There were others scattered across the galaxy, left by a civilization that had existed long before any current species. And the evidence suggested something impossible, that humans might be descendants of that ancient civilization, not a young species at all, but survivors of something far older. They read the report twice and locked it in a secure vault. This information could change everything humanity thought about itself. But it was not the right time. First, they needed to establish the Free Alliance as a permanent force in galactic politics. Later, they could explore the mystery of humanity's true origins. He walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, in systems humanity had not yet explored, were answers to questions they had not yet learned to ask. But for now, the immediate task was complete. Humanity had left the Galactic Council as dismissed children. They had returned as equals, with power, technology, and purpose. They had built something new, something better, and proven that strength could be used for protection rather than domination. The galaxy had been shaken. The old order was crumbling. And in its place, something better was being born. Not perfect, not yet, but better. More fair, more just, more worthy of the civilizations it served. Ambassador Dae Kim smiled at the stars and thought about the future. It would be challenging. There would be conflicts, setbacks, and obstacles. But humanity would face them with allies at their side, with advanced technology in their hands, and with the knowledge that they had earned their place among the stars. They had asked the Council for help and been refused. So they had helped themselves, and in doing so, they had shown the galaxy what was possible. That was humanity's gift to the universe, not advanced weapons or superior ships, but the simple idea that things could be better, that the weak deserved protection. And that strength was measured not by who you could dominate, but by who you chose to defend. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly as it should be. D. Many had nothing that resembled skin at all. They were the Galactic Council, the oldest and most powerful organization in the known universe. Ambassador Dae Kim stood at the center of the chamber floor. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. Behind him stood Hana Lee, a woman with metal replacing parts of her left arm and eye. She was a soldier, scarred from the wars humanity had already fought just to survive in this galaxy. They both wore simple black uniforms with a blue earth symbol on the chest. Above them, the architect spoke. It was a being made of living crystal, thousands of years old, and it had led the council for longer than human civilization had existed. Its voice came from everywhere at once, translated into every language simultaneously. The vote is complete, the architect announced. The request from the human delegation for protected trade routes is denied. 734 species vote against. 113 vote in favor. The matter is settled. Dae Kim did not move. He had expected this result. Humanity had been part of the Council for only 30 years, ever since they had developed faster-than-light travel and encountered the greater galaxy. In those 30 years, they had learned one clear lesson. The Council did not respect them. "May I speak?" They asked, his voice calm. "You may," the architect replied. Dae Kim looked around the chamber. He saw the representatives of the Vrelian Empire, the species that had been raiding human colonies for the past 5 years. They sat in their section, with satisfied expressions on their reptilian faces. The Council had just given them permission to continue. 3 months ago, they began, the colony of New Sol was attacked. 4,000 humans died. 2 months ago, Port Destiny was raided. 6,000 dead. Last month, the orbital station above New Harmony was destroyed. 12,000 dead. We came here asking for help, asking for the protection that Council law promises to all member species. Your species is young, one of the elder representatives interrupted. It was a floating jellyfish-like creature that communicated through color changes. You must understand your place. The Vrelian Empire is ancient and powerful. These disputes must be resolved through tribute and negotiation, not through Council military intervention. Hannah Lee's metal hand clenched into a fist, but she remained silent. Dae Kim continued speaking. I see. So the Council's promise of mutual protection does not apply to humans because we are young, because we have only been traveling the stars for a few decades instead of a few millennia, because our weapons use kinetic force and chemical propulsion instead of plasma and exotic particles. Precisely, the architect said. You are not ready for full Council support. In time, perhaps, your species will mature. For now, we recommend you seek a tributary arrangement with a stronger power. The Vrelian Empire has expressed willingness to accept human worlds as protectorates. The chamber filled with approving sounds from hundreds of different species. To them, this was logical. This was how the galaxy worked. The strong protected the weak, and the weak paid tribute. Humanity needed to learn this lesson. Dae Kim reached into his uniform pocket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button on it, and a holographic document appeared in the air above him. It was the Charter of the Galactic Council, the founding document that every species agreed to when joining. Article 7, Section 3. Dae read aloud. All member species shall receive equal protection under Council law. All member species shall have equal voice in Council matters. All member species shall be treated with equal dignity and respect. He looked up at the architect. Does the Council stand by these words? The Council stands by the spirit of these words, the architect replied. But implementation must be practical. Your species does not have the military strength to stand against established powers. It would be wasteful for the Council to spend resources protecting a species that cannot protect itself. Dae Kim nodded slowly. He had his answer. He turned off the hologram and put the device back in his pocket. Then humanity has a response, he said. His voice was still calm, but there was something new in it now. Something hard. Effective immediately, the human delegation withdraws from the Galactic Council. All treaties between humanity and Council species are hereby voided. All human representatives, embassies, trade offices, and facilities will be evacuated from Council space within 30 galactic days. Humanity will have no further official contact with the Council. For the first time in the meeting, the chamber fell completely silent. No species had ever voluntarily left the Council before. The idea was unthinkable. The Council was power, protection, and civilization itself. To leave was to become isolated, vulnerable, alone in a hostile galaxy. The architect's crystalline body flashed with colors that indicated confusion. You cannot be serious. Without the Council, humanity will be destroyed. You are too weak to survive alone. Perhaps, Dae Kim said, but we will survive or fall on our own terms. Not as tributaries to empires that murder our people while the Council watches and does nothing. A Vrelian representative stood up, his scales gleaming under the chamber lights. This is foolishness. Your colonies are undefended. Your fleets are primitive. When you leave Council protection, we will take what should have been ours peacefully. You are making your extinction certain. Hannah Lee finally spoke, her voice like ice. You are welcome to try. Dae Kim turned away from the architect and began walking toward the exit. Hannah Lee followed him. Behind them, the chamber erupted into chaos. Hundreds of species began talking at once, some laughing at human foolishness, others worried about what this meant for Council unity. Outside the chamber, a human shuttle waited. As Day and Hannah boarded, she finally allowed herself to smile. "Do you think they bought it?" she asked quietly. "They bought it," they replied. "They think we are acting out of emotion and pride. They think we will come crawling back within a few months, begging to be readmitted. And when we don't?" Dai Kim looked out the shuttle window at the distant stars of human space. Out there, in systems the Council had never visited, Admiral Jin Park was overseeing the completion of projects that had been 30 years in the making. Projects that would change everything. "Then the galaxy will learn what happens when you force humans to stand alone," he said. "We asked for their help. They refused. Now we will help ourselves, and they will regret teaching us that we cannot rely on anyone but each other." The shuttle accelerated away from the Council chamber, heading home to Earth. Behind them, the greatest civilization in the galaxy continued debating, arguing, and laughing about the foolish young species that had just committed suicide. None of them understood yet. None of them realized that humanity had not left out of anger or pride. They had left because they were finally ready to show the galaxy what they truly were, and the galaxy was not ready for that revelation.